All right, hello and welcome to our very first episode of Content and Conversations. I am your host, Ryan Dowdy, and I am so excited to be here with you. The reason we chose Content and Conversations is the name because I think that business growth comes down to these two things, right? If you are listening right now, you are likely a business owner, you are somebody who is driving revenue inside of your business. And the key to driving revenue inside of your business comes down to two things: the content that you create, both internally and externally, and the conversations that you have, again, both internally and externally. So it seemed perfect to actually call our live show Content and Conversations. So we can talk about both of those things, right? We're going to have a lot of fun on this show. I have a lot of different ideas on how I want to bring you information, how I want to serve you, how I want to encourage you to go out into the world and talk to more people. So if we have not met before, my name is Ryan Dowdy. I am your host. I'm also the founder of the Connection Agency. And I actually spent 15 years in corporate America. So I spent 15 years selling advertising solutions. So we learned that that's kind of my superpower, right? I've been selling marketing for so long. So I was the person who was out in the world having conversations about why you should be investing in marketing, why you should be investing in advertising. But I was never the implementer, right? I was always the one like, this is how these solutions work. This is how they benefit you and your business. This is why you should invest with them or invest with us. That was really my entire career. I eventually went from individual contributor to national sales trainer, channel sales manager, onto the director of sales for a digital marketing agency when I finally retired from the corporate world and became an entrepreneur. So I am really passionate about sales. Sales, I think, is a very underserved market. It's specifically underserved for women. So this show, of course, is for both men and women. At the Connection Agency, we work with both men and women, but it is a really underserved market. But what I learned is that most marketing agencies focus on marketing, right? Makes sense. And then you can go out and you can find sales consultants and sales agencies. And so there's people that are like, okay, we can tell you how to create demand. And then there are people that are like, well, we can tell you how to convert. But oftentimes those two people or those two organizations aren't the same. And so where my superpower comes in, where this show is going to bring you a lot of value, is we're going to talk about both. How do we create demand? How do we create interest? How do we create awareness? How do we get people's attention to talk about what we do? But then also, how do we convert those peoples, right? How do we take somebody from stranger on the internet to actually paying an invoice and doing work with us? That is my expertise. It's my team's expertise. And that's what you're going to hear from us on Content and Conversations as we grow. So what can you expect from this show? Well, I promise you, you can expect me to talk too fast. So that's not going away for those of you that are listening. But I tell you that because it's important. Over the years, I have been told over and over and over again to slow down. You talk too fast. And for a long time, I thought about it and I tried to slow down. But what I have learned is that I show up best when I am myself. And me, I talk fast and I talk with my hands. And if I were to try to talk slower, and I would try to control my hands, I would lose my energy. I would lose what makes me me. And I share that with you because I think so often when we are creating content and when we are having conversations that we are so often trying to change who we are because we think that you'll convert better or you'll get a better result or all of the different reasons, right? We try to change who we are in the world. But we do that. And that is actually not serving us, right? Anytime we try to change who we are, anytime that we are not authentically ourselves, especially when we are selling and marketing, we are going to not get the results that we desire in our efforts. So I talk too fast. I talk with my hands. I bounce around from topic to topic. But what can you really expect as far as content or on this show? Obviously, we're going to talk about content, right? We're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about how do we show up in the world, make more money by putting relationships at the forefront of what we do. That is literally the mission of the Connection Agency, is to help businesses drive revenue by focusing on building relationships. So anything that falls under that arena is what you're going to see here from the show, all blended through the sales and marketing lens for sure. So who should be listening to this show? I've had just such an amazing experience meeting and serving so many different people over the years as I became a full-time entrepreneur in 2019. I've reiterated my business, what feels like a million different ways in that time frame, but it really is for business owners who are looking to drive sales. So some of the things we're going to talk about are going to be really fantastic for you, even if you're in the 0 to 6 figure range. A lot of what we're talking about is going to be really relevant from that 6 to 7 figure mark, but then we're also going to get into systems and processes and growth, which are things that really start to happen at the 7 figure mark and above. So if you are a business owner that wants to drive sales, who wants to master marketing, who wants to focus on relationships, you're going to benefit from the show. And again, depending on the topic and depending on the conversation, is it going to be relevant at your phase phase of business. But as an agency, we work with people at all of those phases, right? We work to people in the 0 to 6 figure range. We help people get from 6 to 7. And then we have clients at the 7 figure mark where we're doing more full service for them. So our content is really driven on sales and marketing as a whole. So it's going to depend upon where your biggest opportunities for improvement, your biggest opportunities for growth lie are based on that. So what I really want to dive down, now that I kind of got through the housekeeping, what we're doing here, how excited I am to be here with you, I want to talk very specifically about the magic that is the Connection Agency and the magic that is the work that we do, that we teach, that we're bringing to you on this show and all the other places that you hang out with us online, is the power of the sales experience. So the sales experience is actually a proprietary framework that we walk all of our clients through as to how they create offers, how they show up in the world, how they message their products and services, and how they actually sell what they do. But I wanted to talk about it here today as kind of the flagship of our first episode, because everything starts with the sales experience, right? It all starts with, how do we make people feel? That's what we're talking about. When we say relationship first, how do we make a relationship a priority? We focus on, how do we make people feel, right? The sales experience is about, how do people feel when they experience you, when they experience your brand, when they experience your marketing, right? When they experience those things, what does that look like? Because that is how people decide whether they want to work with you or not, right? They are literally focusing on, how do I feel when I see this person? Does their content make me feel inspired? Does their content make me feel like they get me, they understand me? Are we a good match from a values perspective, right? When they see that, how do they experience your sales experience? Does it feel good? Do they feel valued? Do they feel seen, heard, understood, listened to? Do they feel like there's transparency? They know what they're getting into? Are they not surprised to be in a sales conversation, etc.? There's all of that going on there. But what we want to do, what my mission really is how do we create a sales experience where people enjoy buying from you? They enjoy spending time with you. They feel, again, really valued as they go through that process. And if you haven't sat down and asked yourself those questions, I really encourage you to do it, because it's an excellent place to start. It's an excellent place to build as the foundation of your sales and marketing system. So where do we start with the sales experience? I'm going to talk you through that today as kind of our a little bit of training for you. But the first thing that we want to do when it comes to the sales experience is basically every single offer in your offer stack has a different sales experience, right? Because if you have a low ticket offer that people are just clicking to buy, or maybe you're selling in the DMs, that experience is very different than a high ticket experience or a custom quote experience, right? So I sold marketing and advertising for 15 years. I never had an off the shelf product to sell. Not once, right? I never went out and said, oh, showed up for a meeting, did a needs assessment and said, hey, here's this package that I have for you. Everything that we did was, I sat down, I did a really deep dive, I did a really good needs assessment, and then I would come back with a recommendation that was structured based on what they needed and on their specific budget, right? That sales experience is very different than, I want you to click to buy this $97 thing, this $17 PDF, this $500 whatever. So every single product inside of your offer suite should have a sales experience, right? And that sales experience starts with your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who is your ideal client? And what is the problem that they have? Who is your ideal client? And what is the problem that this offer solves for them, right? So we have to get clear on, who are they? And then, what problem are we solving? And then from there, what are the symptoms of that problem, right? So for instance, inside of the agency, one of the flagship things that we do is we have a software called Connect Chat. It's a social media prospecting tool. We help businesses get into more conversations on social media, right? That's what Connect Chat is designed to do. The symptoms that our clients have when they come to us and they choose to invest in Connect Chat is, they're not booking enough sales calls. They're not getting enough people registered for their launches and their webinars. They're not selling between their launches and webinars. They don't have, a growing sales pipeline. They're waiting for people to come to them through their content marketing. Their sales are really inconsistent because they're not consistently filling their sales pipeline, right? So those are all the symptoms of the problem. The problem in and of itself is their sales pipelines aren't full, right? But nobody, you're sitting here listening to this right now, and maybe you resonate with the term, but most of the time, nobody wakes up in the morning and is like, oh shit, I wish my sales pipeline was fuller, right? They're like, my goodness, I don't know how we're going to hit our revenue goals because we don't have enough sales calls on our calendar. We only have, 120 people registered for our next launch, and our goal is, 300. Our Facebook ads aren't working the way that they used to, and our ad cost is going up. And I don't know how we're going to bridge that gap. crap. We just had a launch last month. We had a 6-figure month. It was really amazing. I have no idea how we're going to, how we're going to repeat that this month without a launch, right? That is what my ideal client is saying. And I'm just giving you this example because we tend to talk about the things that we're passionate about. Like for me, I'm passionate about filling your sales pipeline, right? But again, nobody wakes up in the morning and says that that's what they want to do. They want to do all those other things. So when you start with building that foundation in your business, when you start with building, how do I go about marketing and selling a solution? It starts with who is the ideal client? What is the problem? What is the solution? What is the result that your thing gets them? Right. And then what are the symptoms of those problems? Because when we're really clear on those three things, our sales messaging gets so much easier, right? Our marketing strategy becomes really clear because all of those different things combined, everybody's that's going to look different for everybody, and it might look different for every offer in your stack. That's oftentimes why we recommend to our clients having like a flagship offer or a forward facing offer, because it can feel a little overwhelming to like, how do I manage all these different things if you don't have a big team and salespeople and that sort of stuff. The most important part of that is really, how do you make people feel? Right? I've said this a million times over the years that our most basic human need is to feel seen, heard, and understood. So we start with creating a sales experience that people want to engage with, that people enjoy going through, that they feel valued, that they feel like they can make a really good buying decision for themselves. It has to make them feel seen, heard, and understood, right? That is why, again, I am obsessed with content and conversations, because our content tells people, I see you, I get you, I understand you. That's how we create connection. That's how we create authority. That's how we create that asynchronous relationship. But then also, this is why conversations are so important, right? Nobody wants to feel like a cog in a wheel. Nobody wants to feel like a number. Nobody wants to feel like just somebody who gets bounced around in your funnel and you don't care if they buy or not because you don't know who they are. That is I believe, the problem with marketing as it exists today, especially for those of us that play in the online space or are online entrepreneurs, is that the whole funnel model, nobody feels seen, heard, or understood when they're stuck in a funnel, right? When they're not being talked to, they're not being appreciated, there's no relationship being built, you're just pushing content at them. It is so easy for that person to opt out, for them to unsubscribe, for them to not buy when you make an offer because they have no relationship with you, right? So how do we create that relationship? We create it through our content, but then we also create it through those conversations. I'm super passionate about making sure that we're having those conversations because, again, people, when they feel seen, heard, understood, valued, when they feel like they have a relationship with you, it is so much easier for them to say yes, right? It's so much easier for them to make an investment with you and your brand, right? And yes, I understand if you are selling something that is $27, I do not want you, booking sales calls to do that. That's not really what we're talking about here. But again, every single step in your sales experience, go from like they find you on the internet or you find them on the internet and you invite them in till they buy. Like, we want to know step by step by step, how do we make them feel? How do they feel seen? How do they feel heard? How do they feel understood? How can each step of this process make that better and better and better, right? How can each step of this relationship building process work? But it starts with that foundation of ideal client, solution that you provide, and the symptoms of the problem. Because again, we can create a really cool foundation for you when we know that. And what I really love about content and conversations is it works a million different ways. It doesn't matter what social media platform you're showing up on. It doesn't matter who your ideal client is. It doesn't matter the price point of what you sell. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's not an offer that doesn't fit into this map, right? Like, I've literally never found an offer that we weren't able to walk through the sales experience and create a really specific sales message that made people feel seen, heard, and understood, to make them feel like they're building a relationship with you, right? So whether you prefer video content or you prefer short form video, long form video, written content, right? There's so many different options today for us to create content that it can feel overwhelming. But the framework of the sales experience really can be used anywhere, right? You don't even have to be on social media. Obviously we're a social media agency. Social media is our jam, but the sales experience actually works if you're using cold email, or if you're cold calling, or if you're building your business purely through networking and referrals, right? Because we still have to understand why people buy our stuff. We still have to be able to communicate to them that we see them, we hear them, we understand them, and we can offer them a solution for all of these symptoms that they're having, right? This gets so grossly overcomplicated, right? There's so many people out there that are like, well, you need conversion copy and you need nurture copy and you need this and you need that. And really what we believe more than anything else is that people need to feel really confident that you can solve their problem and that you understand their problem. That is the crux of all of it, right? That you understand understand their problem and that you can solve their problem. And when you can communicate that through your content, through your conversations, and create an experience that makes them feel seen, heard, and understood at the same time, your conversion rate is going to be higher. Your nurture time is going to be condensed, right? You're not going to have to nurture as long. You're not going to have to create as much content. They're not going to have to dance around in your world for as long to be able to feel really confident about making a buying decision. So that is the sales experience, right? That is what we stand for here at the Connection Agency, and the reason why I wanted to have this conversation as our first episode, wherever it is that you're listening to us right now, is because it will all come back to those things, right? Every single thing that we talk about when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to prospecting, when it comes to lead generation, when it comes to launches and challenges and webinars, when it comes to mindset and conversion and how we're selling and what's going on in our sales conversations and how to overcome objections, this all comes back to having that baseline of understanding what is the experience. What is the experience? It's the first question we ask our clients when they're like, oh, well, this is broken, right? Like our sales calls aren't converting. Cool. How did they get into a sales call? What was the expectation? How did we qualify them? What did that sales call look like? What objection did they get, right? It all comes back to the experience. That is why I wanted that to be our baseline conversation. So as we continue to move through, as you hear from us every single week, that you understand the foundation that you are standing on and the importance of that. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really very excited. I'm also totally open to suggestions and ideas. So if you're like, Ryan, I would love to hear you talk about this. I would love some resources on this. I would love an episode about this. I'm really happy to do that. Again, I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things that I want to talk to you all about. I really want to change what I'm passionate about is changing sales and marketing, making it connection focused, getting away from transaction, getting away from, people again, feeling like a number or a cog in a wheel or feeling just really underappreciated in the process. I want people to feel, I want our clients to feel really good. I want your clients to feel really good. I want people to feel excited about buying our stuff. And we do that by building this foundation together. So thank you so much for being here. And definitely plan to bring you some interviews of really amazing people and how they've leveraged content and conversations to build their brands. I'm going to continue to kind of tell you my experience coming from the corporate world and now, going on 4+ years as a full-time entrepreneur. And just thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week.